What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's time to continue our 2023 schedule preview and projected records for the 2023 college football season. We continue them with the Arizona State Sun Devils. Here's the schedule last year for this Arizona State team. The overall record for this team going 3-9 overall in 2022. So Arizona State coming off a really disappointing season last year. A lot of people weren't surprised, but I was kind of surprised because I was really high on this team last year. I didn't expect them, to go 3-9, but they did fire their head coach in the middle of the season. So Arizona State kind of in a rebuild mode now, heading into 2023. But first off, you look at who they played in the non-conference last year. They played Northern Arizona, Oklahoma State out of the Big 12, and also Eastern Michigan, a really good Eastern Michigan team last year. So they did lose 2 out of their non-conference games there in the month of September. And they kind of had a tough stretch there in the month of September, from September 10th to October 1st. And then, of course, from November 5th to the last game of the regular season. But they did get some couple wins in the Pac-12 last year to Washington and Colorado. Washington definitely was the biggest win of their game from last year. And then, of course, Colorado didn't really turn out to be as good as we think they were going to be from last year. But again, different year for this Arizona State team and a rebuild year. So let's now get to the schedule for 2023. Here's that schedule for Arizona State heading into 2023. And you look at who they'll play in the non-conference this year. They'll play Southern Utah here on August the 31st. So they'll have a game in August here. And then they'll play Oklahoma State here once again out of the Big 12. They played them last year, and this time they will get this game at home. And it's going to be a pretty interesting game there out of the non-conference. And then they'll play Fresno State here on September 16th, a top 25 team from last year. So they do have a pretty tough non-conference schedule. Of course, Fresno State really was a top 25 team. Then you got Oklahoma State here, who was in the top 25 sometime in the momentum last year. But this team does lose a lot of production from the transfer portal. So they're definitely kind of, in a rebuild as well. But the non-conference schedule, a lot tough, for this Arizona State team. Again, no divisions in the Pac-12. So let's go game by game now for this Arizona State team. So they'll start the season off with a Southern Utah here on August the 31st. So they'll have a game here in August against Southern Utah. Then they'll play Oklahoma State here on September 9th. Then they'll play Fresno State after that on September 16th. So you have to play them back-to-back games. But at least you get all these non-conference games at home. Now, it wouldn't really be a big shock, though, if they didn't lose to Fresno State. That would not be a really big shot because Fresno State's actually a pretty good group of 5 team. Then they'll play USC here to open up Pac-12 play on September 23rd. That is a tough game to open up Pac-12 play against. Then they'll play Cal here on the road on September 30th. Then they'll play Colorado here on October 7th. So you got 2 games that are very winnable there after the USC game. And then the schedule kind of gets brutal down the rest of the stretch here. They'll play Washington here on the road. They beat them last year. They'll get a bye week before playing this game. Then they'll play Washington State here on October 28th. Then they'll play Utah there on November 4th. They even play UCLA here on the road. So you got back-to-back road games here in the month of November with Utah and UCLA. Very tough back-to-back road games there for Arizona State. Then they'll play Oregon as well here on November 18th. The good news is they get this game at home. And then they'll end things out here with Arizona here on November 25th. So schedule really brutal here for Arizona State, especially when you have to play USC, Washington, Utah, and UCLA. I mean, Washington, Utah, and UCLA are all on the road. And then you have to play Oregon and USC at home. I mean, that's the good news, but the bad news is this schedule is just overall tough for Arizona State. So the schedule for 2023 for Arizona State, really tough. Let's now get to the projection here for this team, and this is the scale I use for my projections. If it's a 1% game, these are games where Arizona State has no chance of winning. 20%, there'll be about a couple touchdowns of underdogs in the orange. 40%, they're going to be about a heavy underdog in, about the yellow, a touchdown underdog. 50-50 games, these will stay in the white, games where they can go either way. 60%, they'll be favored by at least a touchdown. You probably won't see any of those purple games, though, on here. Then 80%, they'll be favored by a couple touchdowns, about double digits. And then the 90% games are the easy wins for Arizona State. So we'll start with the easy wins here for the Sun Devils. Again, coming off a 3-9 season last year. So we'll favor Arizona State in only one game in the green this year, and that's going to be the easy win, and that's Southern Utah here on August the 31st. I don't think Arizona State has no business to lose this game, even though they got a new head coach. Maybe they lose somehow, but, I think they should really take care of business against Southern Utah here on August the 31st, and they just have no business to lose that game. Now, Fresno State, people are going to say, why is that game not in the green? Well, Fresno State's actually a really good group of 5 team, and it's going to be a tough non-conference game here on September the 16th, which brings me to my next pick, and that's Fresno State. I got them favored only by a couple touchdowns in this game against Fresno State. Now, this game probably could have been in the purple if it was on the road for Arizona State, but I'm going to stick with it and put it in the blue for as of right now. But this is a very losable game here for Arizona State. I mean, it's not going to be an easy game. It's not very a winnable game either for Arizona State. But, this game, right, I think both of these teams, though, in the non-conference, I think they are going to be at least favored in both of these games in the non-conference. Southern Utah, I think they'll take care of business in that game. But it's hard to say what they do to Fresno State. It really is going to be hard to say. And also, we don't really know how good Arizona State's going to be this year. And also, this is just based off of where the teams were from last year. We now go to the games where they're going to be underdogs in. Like I said, I don't have any purple games on this schedule. I don't have any red games, surprisingly, either, though, for Arizona State. Let's now go to the games where are going to be about a couple touchdowns of underdogs. And that's almost the majority of their schedule: USC, Washington, Utah, UCLA, and Oregon. I think all these games you can put Arizona State as a couple touchdowns of underdogs. USC and Oregon, you at least get both of those games at home, but Washington, Utah, and UCLA, really tough road games there, especially Washington on the road. That's a team you beat last year, but this time you have to go on the road and face them on October the 21st, and that's obviously going to be a tough road game. Then obviously you got the back-to-back road games here with Utah and UCLA. And besides, all these teams that you're seeing here in the orange have a lot of production coming back. Utah has Cam Rising coming back. USC has a loaded offense coming back. You got Washington has a lot of production coming back. And then you got Bo Nix coming back here for Oregon. I mean, the Pac-12 is going to be crazy. It's going to be really wide open this year, but I don't think Arizona State has really a good shot to win any of these games. So as of right now, they stay in the orange. All right, let's go to the games now where they're going to be a heavy underdog in, about a touchdown. These are very winnable games, perhaps, but I'm still going to be putting them as a heavy underdog in both of these games. And that's Oklahoma State and Washington State. I think these are very winnable games in the yellow. I mean, at least you get both of them at home. Oklahoma State is definitely a winnable game. So if they win that game against Oklahoma State on September the 9th and also beat all these other non-conference teams, there's a good chance that Arizona State, could start out 3-0 and possibly lose those final games on their schedule. But, definitely we'll get to the 50-50 games there. But Washington State's also a winnable game, so that's a really good shot that they could win that game on October the 28th. But I think as of right now, I'm going to put Arizona State as about a touchdown of an underdog based off where they were from last year. So, and then the rest of the games here for Arizona State: Cal here on September 30th, Colorado here on October 7th, and then Arizona here on November 25th. I think all these games are 50-50 games. These are games where they can go either way. And besides, all three of these teams in the white, they were pretty much not good teams last year. But Arizona was decent enough. But, as of right now, I'm going to put all these games in the white. Cal is going to be a tough one on there on the road. And then Colorado, that's definitely a winnable game. That's a team you don't want to play in the month of November. But Arizona, that's a rival game. You never know what can happen. So I think all these games, you can count them as 50-50 games. Let's now get to the projected record for this Arizona State team. Like I said, this is not my official prediction. This is simply a projection based on this schedule. It's a really tough schedule for Arizona State. So if you count the games that they're favored in, with that green game with Southern Utah and that blue game with Fresno State, and then you got the underdog games here in the orange, and then, of course, the yellow, and you count the 50-50 games, you get an overall projected record for this Arizona State team at 3-9 for 2023. So 3-9 comes out to be the projection here for Arizona State, the same overall record they had last year in 2022. And like I said, we don't know how good this Arizona State team will be, but there's a really possible chance that they can go 5-7. What if they win all their games on the schedule in the white, and they could possibly go 5-7, or maybe 6-6? That would just be a big surprise considering this team went 3-9 last year. But I think worst case scenario as of right now would be 2-10. Best case scenario would be probably 4-8. So I think Arizona State, though, they are in a rebuild mode, and it's going to take them a while to get back into that mid-tier of the Pac-12. So Arizona State, 3-9 overall projected record. Let me guys know what you think about this projected record for this Arizona State team. What do you think their best case scenario would be? What do you think their worst case scenario is in 2023? And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.